Hello and a warm welcome to my home lab introduction. I published this video in two languages, in German and in English. My English is not the best. I hope you can understand all the things I'm trying to explain you. It's mainly for this bit of YouTube SEO and for Reddit and something like that. But I think you figured out what is for what. We are starting on the top with my 24-port patch panel. All the 3 ports are patched at the moment. One are my uplink port to my AVM Fritzbox, and on the left side over there to my office and to my living room. In my office are a second switch, an 8-port Unify switch, and in my living room it's only patched to an Unify wireless access point, nothing more at the moment. You can see my Unify USG firewall. For me, the small one is totally okay. I'm running here with 100 megabit downstream and 6 Mbit upstream internet connection. I'm not using all the features, but the most I'm at the moment disabled IPS and IDS. Tried it, but I figured it out. I don't need to run it at my network. As a switch, I run a Unify 16-port 150 watt PoE switch. It's about, I think 4 ports are free at the moment. The 2 SFP ports are also free, as you can see. And it's running quite fine, and I really like the Unify stuff. Perhaps I replace it with a bigger switch from Unify with the 48 port with 250 watt, because of the 2 SFP plus ports that the bigger one is having. A dedicated 10 port 10 gigabit switch, it's not necessary at the moment, because it's only one hardware here that I can expand to 10 gigabit. So it's run quite fine. The white box over there is my Philips Hue hub, the RIPE Atlas probe in the back. Yep, the camera is focusing now. And my Z-Wave USB stick for my home automation. As you can hear later on, I'm running Home Assistant as home automation software, and it's quite perfect. For all the storage of my data, I'm running a Synology DS960 Plus with 4 GB RAM, 2 4 terabyte Seagate Ironwolf, and 2 VD-Reds. They are combined is SHR1 RAID, and stores all my media, my data, music files, backups for my Macs and all the stuffs. So down in the rack are a Supermicro case with a Gigabyte J1900 CPU. It's a quad-core CPU. It's running quite fine. You can perfectly running a Plexar with it. I'm running 3 transcoded 1080p streams simultaneously. So you can easily run as a low power Plex server. It's have 4 GB RAM and it's offline at the moment. About a year or a year and a half, that was my pfSense firewall. But I think a year, quite time later, I like to have the whole Unify stack and bought the Unify USG so that I can manage from the firewall till to my access points the whole stack in one software. So it's shut down at the moment and offline. I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing with something I would like to run on that. Down under, it's my Proxmox server. It's a quite old case. It could run with 7 HDD disks. About 2 years ago, it was my main server that do not have the Synology box, and it runs, I think, with an FreeNAS VM on ESXi. But I like to split them all, and the Synology boxes are expensive, but they're running very smooth, so I like them very. On the server, there's a Supermicro board with an LSC 3008 chipsets, which is deactivated at the moment. Intel Xeon E3 1220 V5 with 4 cores. And as I show you a little bit later, my Proxmox host is running very fine with them. It's very not very under load. It's hosted 32 of GB RAM in 2 16 GB slots, and was bought a very long time ago, where the RAM prices were not quite normal, not like at the moment. It's of course the 4 RAMs and dual channel. My Proxmox server is running on 2 Intel S3100 SSD in RAID 1. Installed Proxmox, and then it's ZF Mirror on, and it runs quite fine on them. The smart values are perfect and all okay with them. My virtual machines and my LXC containers are split on 2 different SSDs. My VMs are running on a Samsung EU 500 gig SSD, and the LXC containers are on a 200 gigs Crucial MX 200, I think, something like that. And so I split them a little bit. I'd like to buy a new PCI Express SSD for the whole things, but a little bit later maybe. So that's my self-built wooden rack from the side. As you can see, I run an APC UPS with 900 VA. At the moment it's consuming, or my complete whole net consuming about 90 to 93 watts. I think it's quite fine. My 2 access points from UniFi are powered via PoE. So it's included in the power consumption. As you perhaps saw, my Synology NAS are disabled the LEDs. It's running all the time because of backups for my media storage and something like that. So it's need to run the whole time. And so it's 24/7 running about as I said, 90 watts of power consumption. That was the hardware part. I take you to my iMac and show you the whole software part, and then you can see all the other things. So now the second part, the software things I'm using. As I said, I'm running Proxmox VE in version 5.2. You see it's not quite under load. It's running fine. About 10% of my 4-core CPU and about 40% of my RAM is used. That's because I'm running the most of my things as LXC container, only 4 VMs are here. The most, I think it's quite self-explaining. P-hole is for ad blocking my network, Nginx for reverse proxying my whole web apps that are running. There are some Let's Encrypt certificates. 2 of them are wildcard. My Isinga 2 monitoring and dev machine for my YouTube videos. I'm preparing some tutorials for installing Isinga 2 and configure it and all of the whole thing around Isinga 2. The most in German, so not really for you at the moment. My UniFi controller for my network, PHP IPAM for my IP management, but I only use it for tracking which IP I'm using right now and which is in use for my LXC containers, for my VMs and the other stuff in my network. Matomo is the new name for the Piwik Analytics. I'm switching from Google Analytics to Piwik very recently for the latest GDPR compliance things. Then 2 database servers. One is a MariaDB server and the InfluxDB server. I don't like to install a lot of small database server on each VM or each LXC container. So I run only one. There are my database in it, and it's much easier to maintain the whole things. Here you can see I've run an SSH jump box. It's primarily to connect if I everywhere on the world I can connect to it, and it says 2-factor authentication. First my password, second an RSA token. I'm not using any certificates for that because I'd like to connect if I'm at a colleague or at work where I can't install the certificate, so I can connect to them. A small WordPress instance. There we are writing down our recipes. We don't like to search them in a lot of cookbooks and on websites and something like that. So we combine them all in this one WordPress. My 4 VMs are a EcoDMS system. It's a document management system for personal purposes. I scan or photograph all my documents and importing them. Monitoring server. There I tried some things with Telegraph and Grafana and such things. It's at the moment I think unused. Perhaps I can delete them. And a Docker server. It's a quite small server. I run there some Docker containers. I show them a bit later. The last VM is in Windows Server 2016. It's all the only thing that installed on them is the ADDS role for Active Directory purposes. It's quite easier to connect to Active Directory for authentication on web apps than to some other things. Mainly because I'm working with Windows servers on my daily business. So I have a lot of experience in that and I can very easily manage them. These are the 2 SSDs I mentioned earlier. The smaller one, Crucial 250 gigabytes, and the Samsung Evo 830, I think. It's not quite under load, as you can see, because the LXC containers are quite small, and there are not a lot of VMs running. That's all my Docker containers. That's not much. I'm in the learning process from Docker. So it's only Home Assistant as my home automation system. It's a very good system and I'm very happy with it. You should have a look if you are running a smart home. Tartuli for the older FlexPy things, Telegraph Grafana for monitoring my Docker system. Gox is a Git server and it's very light and much smaller than, for example, GitLab. I only use it for some very less code things. It's, I think 2 or 4, something like that, repositories on it. My Plex server with the Plex PassTag and Bookstack server. Bookstack is mainly for writing books, but you can easily use it as a wiki system, and for that I'm using it. The wiki is for documenting my home lab, for vMouse files, for configuration things and such things. It's easier to put it in a wiki than write it on a paper or in OneNote or something like this, something like that software. The last is trying to run P-hole as a Docker container. Normally it doesn't run, but I restarted yesterday all my Docker containers after an update. So it ran again, and I used Docker Compose for the configuration, and I forget to comment out the P-hole container. Thank you for watching my video. As I said earlier, I'm not that good in English. Normally my German is a bit better. I hope you like it. If you do, please press the thumb up button. If you have any questions, feel free to comment them. I try to answer them as fast as possible. And I wish you a very nice day, week, year, and whatever. And hope you enjoyed it. Bye bye.